You know when you're home alone and you hear sounds that are just barely off? Like a creak you haven't heard before, or a tap that feels too rhythmic to be the wind? That's what this was. Just strange enough to make me pause, but easy to brush off. At least at first. It was a Saturday night and I was 17 years old, finally old enough to be left alone for the weekend. My parents were staying at my aunt's place 2 towns over. I remember feeling kind of excited about it. The whole house was mine. I blasted music, watched Netflix with the volume turned way up, and ordered way too much pizza. It was one of those rare nights where you feel like nothing in the world can bother you. Around 10:30 p.m., I paused the movie to get a soda. As I opened the fridge, I heard it. Footsteps. Not in the hallway, not on the stairs, but directly above me, in the attic. Now, I've lived in that house my whole life. I know its sounds. That wasn't the house settling. It wasn't a raccoon or some pipes shifting. These were solid, slow, heavy steps, one after another. Then silence. I stood there frozen, with my hand still holding the fridge door. My ears were straining for any sound, but everything went still again. I tried to laugh it off, told myself maybe I imagined it. I grabbed my soda and went back to the couch, but I muted the TV this time. I needed to know. I sat there for 10 minutes. Nothing. Just when I thought I was being paranoid, it came again. I swear to God, I felt the vibrations in the ceiling above me. Like someone had shifted their weight and then dragged something, or maybe themselves, a few steps. I got up slowly and grabbed the broom from the corner, walked toward the attic access in the hallway. It's one of those pull-down hatches with the little string. My hand shook as I reached up and pulled it down. The steps creaked open. I stood back and poked the broomstick up through the opening. I didn't even try to look in. I just jabbed the broom around up there like a scared kid. Nothing. No noise, no movement. I couldn't bring myself to go up. I closed the hatch, locked my bedroom door, and just told myself I'd figure it out in the morning. Maybe a possum got in somehow. Maybe I was tired. I lay in bed scrolling on my phone for a while, trying to settle my nerves. I must have fallen asleep eventually because the next thing I remember is waking up, suddenly. It was 2:17 a.m. I remember that number exactly because my phone screen lit up when I touched it. But that's not why I woke up. It was the air. It felt different, like I was being watched. My room felt colder, but not like a breeze came in, like the temperature itself had dropped. I didn't move right away. I just listened. That's when I heard a sound. Inside the room, a soft creak, like a foot gently shifting weight on an old wooden board. Then silence. I turned my head very, very slowly toward my closet. The door was open. Not wide, just a few inches. But I never leave it open. Ever. It's one of those weird habits I've always had. Closet door closed before bed. Always. And that's when I noticed something even worse. There was a pair of shoes at the bottom of the closet. I don't own dark shoes like that. They looked old, beat up, muddy. I couldn't see much beyond that, but I felt it. Someone was inside. My first instinct was to scream, but I didn't. Somehow, I knew I had to stay quiet. I slid my hand under my pillow where my phone had been charging. Still there, thank God. I didn't call 911. I was too scared he might hear me speak. I texted my neighbor, Adam. He lived next door and had a spare key. My fingers barely worked as I typed, "Please come over. I think someone is in my house." Then I slid back under the blanket. I remember the feeling, like I was playing dead. I pulled the covers over my face, tried to make my breathing slow, silent. Every second that passed felt like I was lying on a minefield. At one point, I swear I could hear breathing. Not mine. Just a faint, slow inhale and exhale from the direction of the closet. I didn't dare peek. After maybe 10 agonizing minutes, I heard the back door open. My neighbor had a key. He called out from the hallway, "Yo, you good?" In that split second, everything happened at once. The closet door creaked fully open. I heard a voice, a whisper, then heavy steps. A man darted from the closet, pushed open my window and jumped out onto the backyard lawn. I heard Adam yell, "Hey!" followed by silence. The police arrived minutes later. The attic had signs someone had been living up there. An old sleeping bag, food wrappers, even empty water bottles. And beneath some insulation, they found something that still haunts me. A small knife. Dull, rusty, but real. And tucked inside an old shoebox. A Polaroid. A picture of me. Asleep. Taken from above. From the attic opening. Whoever he was, he had been living above me for at least 3 days. Eating my food. Watching me. Moving around when I had headphones on. The police never caught him. I haven't slept with my door unlocked since. And I never, ever ignore strange noises from above. If you're still watching this, take a second and make sure no one's above you. Like this video if your heart skipped even once. Subscribe for more true horror. And drop a comment telling us where you're watching this from. Let's see how far this creeps around the world. Story 2. I live in a small studio apartment on the 3rd floor of a pretty average building. Nothing fancy. Just a bed, a desk, and a tiny kitchen that barely fits a microwave and a pan. It's the kind of place where you can hear everything. Neighbors arguing, pipes humming, dogs barking floors below. So if someone whispers outside your door, you hear it. I work night shifts as a dispatcher at a local towing company. Most days, I come home around 6 or 7 a.m., crash, and sleep till late afternoon. But this happened on one of my rare days off, a Monday. I remember that clearly because I promised myself a full day of doing absolutely nothing. Around 1 o'clock p.m., I had just finished lunch, some leftover noodles, and was watching YouTube on my bed, earbuds in, half reclined, in that lazy post-lunch haze. That's when someone knocked on the door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Not rushed, not casual, just spaced out. Like whoever was on the other side wanted to make sure I heard it. I paused the video and pulled one earbud out, waited. Another knock, same rhythm. I got up and checked the peephole. No one was there, just the hallway. I opened the door anyway. Slowly, looked left, right. Nothing. I stepped out a little just to check the stairwell. Empty. The kind of empty that almost feels staged. I figured maybe it was a neighbor's kid playing around, or maybe someone knocked at the wrong door. I shut it and went back inside. By 6 p.m., I decided to grab some groceries. As I turned the key to lock my apartment, I noticed something weird. The area around the lock, scratched, badly, like someone had been scraping at it with a tool or trying to pry it open. My key still worked, but the metal was chewed up. The keyhole had deep gouges, almost like a drill bit had been pushed in and twisted around. I stared at it for a while, feeling that slow spread of unease in my stomach. Someone had tried to get in, not subtly either. I reported it to the building manager. He looked at it, nodded, and said, "Yeah, probably just some drunk idiot who tried the wrong door." He didn't seem concerned, brushed it off like it happened all the time, but it didn't feel like a random mistake. I'd lived there over a year. Never had anything like this happen. That night I couldn't shake the feeling. I kept checking the peephole, double-checking the lock. Finally, just before midnight, I took out one of those door security bars I had ordered online months ago. The kind that jams under the handle and braces against the floor. It was still sealed in its packaging. I had bought it during some paranoid spree, but never used it. I unwrapped it, set it up, tested it a few times. It held firm. I told myself it was probably overkill, but that paranoia wouldn't let me sleep. At 3:40 a.m., I was half awake, scrolling on my phone with the brightness turned down low, when I heard it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was calculated, intentional. I heard the unmistakable sound of a key sliding into my lock. Then the handle turned. Once. Slowly. Then again. This time harder. A pause. Then another turn. Firm. Almost frustrated. The handle jiggled a little, but the jam bar held. Whoever was on the other side didn't knock. Didn't speak. They just kept trying. Like they were sure they had the right key, but something wasn't clicking. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I sat up slightly in bed and stared at the door. There was just enough streetlight coming through the blinds for me to see the handle twitch again. Then, silence. I heard soft footsteps moving away, down the hall, then nothing. I stayed up the rest of the night, lights on, door bar still wedged tight. Every sound in the building made my heart race. When the sun finally came up, I went straight to the building manager's office. This time, I wasn't polite. To his credit, he took me seriously. He pulled up the hallway security footage. We watched it together. At exactly 3:40 a.m., a man appeared on screen. Baseball cap, hoodie, sunglasses, at night. He moved with confidence. Not like someone drunk or confused, like someone with a purpose. He walked straight to my door, took out a key ring, tried one key, then another. You could see him get frustrated. After a minute, he stepped back and walked away. Calm. No panic. No hurry. But what chilled me the most was what he was holding. A large ring of keys. It wasn't a set of house keys. It looked almost identical to the master key ring the building super used. The manager swore he had never seen the man before. And no, none of the keys were missing. At least not officially. He called the locksmith that day. They changed my lock and 2 others in the hallway. I filed a police report, but I never heard back. A week later, I moved out. Even now, I still check every door handle twice. I use that same jam bar every night. And sometimes, just as I'm about to fall asleep, I swear I hear it again. That soft, metallic click of a key turning in the dark. Except now, I'm not sure if it's real or if my brain just won't let it go. All I know is someone out there had a key to my home, and they didn't knock. They tried to come in like they belonged there. Story 3. This happened last summer, sometime in late July. I remember the heat was miserable even at night, and I'd been keeping the windows cracked open just to let some air circulate. I live on the ground floor of a rented duplex just outside the city. Nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom setup with old hardwood floors and a backyard that technically counts as a garden, though it's mostly weeds, patchy grass, and a broken fence that separates it from the alleyway behind the house. I'd only been living there for about 6 months. It wasn't perfect, but it was quiet, and I liked the solitude. My landlord lived upstairs, barely ever home. The kind of arrangement where I could be invisible, and that suited me just fine. I work freelance, mostly online, so I didn't have to leave much. My routines were simple. My days were predictable. That Thursday night I had a pounding headache, one of those slow-building, pressure-in-the-skull kind that makes your thoughts feel heavy. I skipped dinner, left my phone on silent, and went to bed earlier than usual. I cracked open the bedroom window a few inches, just enough to let the heat out and pull in some cooler air from outside. I live in a decent area, and the garden was fenced in, so I wasn't too worried. Maybe I should have been. Around midnight, something woke me. I wasn't fully conscious at first. You know that strange, in-between state where you're half asleep but your brain is already detecting something's off? That's where I was when I heard it. Gravel, being stepped on, slowly, deliberately. The sound of bare feet, maybe shoes with soft soles pressing into the small stone patch just outside my bedroom window. At first I thought maybe it was a raccoon or a stray cat, but the pacing was too heavy, too human. Crunch, pause, crunch again. My eyes snapped open. The room was mostly dark, but the curtains swayed lightly in the air. I had left them half drawn, and through the narrow opening I saw it. Or rather, I saw the movement, a crouched shape, just beyond the bush line. Someone was hiding, not moving toward the window, not making noise. Just waiting, staring. I didn't scream. I didn't even make a sound. I slid off the bed, crawled low across the room, and shut the window as quietly as I could. Then I locked it. I turned the lights on and sat in the corner of the room until sunrise. The footsteps didn't come back, and by the time the sky turned gray, I began to wonder if I imagined it. If the headache, the heat, the silence had played tricks on me. But the next morning, when I finally stepped out into the garden, any doubts I had vanished. Footprints. Barefoot. Pressed clearly into the dirt patch under the window. 4 sets. Left, right, left, right. Then a scuff mark. like someone had crouched low and shifted their weight. There were smudges on the glass too, not full palm prints, but enough of a mark to suggest someone had leaned close. I stared at those prints for a long time before backing away slowly and locking the door behind me. I reported it to my landlord upstairs. He didn't seem too concerned, promised to install something sturdier than that janky old fence. I knew it would never happen. I started sleeping with my bedroom door locked and a hammer under my bed just in case. The garden light had long since stopped working, but I bought a motion sensor flood lamp and mounted it just outside my window the next day. 5 nights passed. Nothing happened. No strange sounds. No new footprints. I began to let my guard down just a little. That was a mistake. It was 2:30 in the morning when I woke up again. This time, it wasn't a noise that did it. It was a feeling. The kind of bone-deep chill that doesn't make sense in the summer. I sat up confused. Then my eyes locked onto the curtains. They were open. Wide open. And the window? Unlocked. I never unlocked it again after that first night. Ever. I froze. It was like my entire body forgot how to function. I didn't move, just stared. Then I caught it. A shadow. Outside. In the garden. A man. Standing completely still, maybe 15 feet from the window. Shirtless. His skin pale in the faint moonlight. He wasn't doing anything. Not trying to come in. Just watching. Like he had all the time in the world. I backed away slowly, not taking my eyes off him. I didn't know how he got the window open, or how I didn't hear it. I crept into the kitchen, grabbed a knife from the drawer, and slid a chair under the doorknob of the back door, the one that led into the garden. Then I dialed emergency services. Whispered everything. They told me to stay calm and quiet, that an officer was already nearby and would arrive within minutes. As I waited, I could hear movement. The soft scrape of feet on the patio, the creak of the wooden step outside. The doorknob jiggled once. Not a knock, just someone testing it. Then nothing. Silence again. I couldn't tell if he was still there, and I wasn't going to find out. When the police arrived, they searched the area, but he was gone. No sign of forced entry. No fingerprints. No boot prints this time either. But they did find something. In the hedge near the back fence, there was a crumpled towel, a plastic bottle of water, and a small, dirty notebook. Most of the pages were filled with random, erratic scribbles. Some looked like names. Others were full of repeated phrases, symbols, and scattered addresses. One page had a rough drawing of a house. Mine. I never saw the man again. The landlord installed a new fence eventually, and I moved out less than a month later. But even now, in my new place, I still keep the windows locked. I still wake up sometimes convinced someone is standing outside. I still check behind every curtain, every night, just to be sure. Because whoever that man was, he wasn't a stranger passing through. He had watched, learned, waited, and something tells me he wasn't finished.